Welcome to the 111th Grey Cup.
Oh boy.
Blood in the hand, the throwing hand of Zach Collaros as he heads off the field.
Arbuckle now over the middle, throws to the end zone, got it! Touchdown, Toronto!
Zach Collaros, as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber, has never thrown with a glove on.
Throwing. Oh, intercepted.
The accuracy wasn't quite there with the glove on.
For the second time in 3 years, Argos topple the Bombers.
A new CFL season brings new hope, and for 8 teams not named the Argonauts, they are hoping odds makers are off as the experts have once again picked Toronto to hoist the Grey Cup, with Montreal and Winnipeg right behind them. Hello, Canada, and welcome to the CFL on TSN betting show powered by Fanduel. Kate Beirness alongside Henoc Muamba and Davis Sanchez. And Henoc, I know I should be going to you first for your opinion, but unfortunately, you are sitting beside a betting expert. So, Chelsea, all eyes on you on this show.
A betting expert. Fanduel would probably disagree, but let's give some advice. And truth be told, I'm a Fanduel ambassador, so. But one of the things about Fanduel is they do want us to educate. And so I'll give a couple pointers here when we look at the betting preview show and a couple of things to look at. One thing is when you see markets, what you call a two-way market is if they have Bo Levi Mitchell over 240 yards passing, or for the season, 4,200 yards passing, you can bet the over, you can bet the under. Those are bets that I like, and they can be profitable potentially. Other bets that are really tough to win, I don't love, but their offerings are something like a Grey Cup winner. So the Argos to win the Grey Cup, let's say plus 300 or plus 400. Where there's not an opportunity to bet the under or the other side of the market, those bets are really tough to win. Very favorable for the books. So if you like those because you're an Argo fan or a Edmonton fan, just sprinkle a little bit on those. But those wouldn't be my favorite bets.
You may not be an ambassador anymore after telling the people not to bet on the Grey Cup.
We do it for the people.
All right.
Betting, right?
Let's kick things off in the West.
Welcome to a new season in the Canadian Football League. The Bombers appear to have turned it over again.
Their Grey Cup window appeared slammed shut with their 0-4 start.
Winnipeg looks like the most dominant team.
The George Reed Most Outstanding Player.
This is not an individual award, but this is a team award.
The Bombers are going back to the Grey Cup again. Lars gets it away, and oh my goodness, it's intercepted. Game over. The Argos are going to seal it away.
So the Bombers will enter the 2025 CFL season as the favorite to win the West at Fanduel. Saskatchewan right behind them at plus 270. The Lions are also expected to be in the mix in the West, while Edmonton and Calgary are both longer than 4-1 odds to win the division. With his take on the Riders, here's Aaron Korolnek.
The Saskatchewan Roughriders are coming off a 9-win campaign in 2024, but I believe big things are ahead for the Riders in 2025, their second season under head coach Corey Mace. I'm playing Saskatchewan over 10.5 wins on their season-long total, and I'm betting the Riders to win the West Division at plus 250 on FanDuel. No team in the Canadian Football League has the type of offensive weapons that Trevor Harris has at his disposal. A healthy A.J. Ouellette in the backfield. A ridiculous quartet of Johnson, Emelis, Schaefer, Baker, and Bain at receiver. And if the 39-year-old Harris suffers an injury, the Riders have a very competent backup in Jake Mayer coming over from Calgary. They've got reigning CFL Defensive Player of the Year, Roland Milligan, who anchors a defense comprised of studs at every level, including Mike Rose, who comes over from Calgary to join a pass rush that will be a nightmare for opposing offensive lines. And let's not forget the trio of Avery, Thurman, and Rivas are all back at linebacker. I cannot wait to see this Rider team in action in 2025. And while the loss of prized free agent center Sean McEwen will absolutely be felt, the Riders are well positioned for their first Grey Cup appearance in more than a decade.
So I like AK's thought process on this one. I really like the Riders this season, the continuity, the all-stars that they were able to keep on this team. But overall in the West, I don't know about you, Henoc, I just think some of these numbers are a little bit skewed. I don't think anyone's given any love to the BC Lions. If you're at the bottom looking up, I mean, you got a chip on your shoulder.
No, absolutely. I think AK hit it right on the nail. I mean, he's talking about a team that has a lot of consistency, a team year 2 with Corey Mason. Yeah. I was on the team where Corey Mason was coaching in his second year, and he did extremely well. So you look at this team right here in Saskatchewan, they have a lot of consistency. Yeah. They have a lot of guys that are going to learn a lot. I was talking to the defensive backs coach over there, JB. Coach Bell, he was telling me at the end of the year last year, he said, Henoc, this team has so much potential. They haven't tapped into it yet. I'm excited to see what they're going to do this year. So I'm looking for them to do extremely well this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. And a healthy Trevor Harris, look, he's 39 years old, but if Jeremy O'Day and Corey Mace want to extend him and what they see in him, they believe in him, who am I to not believe? When he's on the field and he's healthy, he's as good as anybody. One of the bets I like in the West is I like Edmonton, and I like their over 7.5 for the win total for the Edmonton Elks. And the reason I like the Elks, one of them is because obviously the offseason move a defensive line, getting a whole new front. Obviously, that's going to. The front in Toronto was excellent. They're going to be good on defense. And then just handing the keys to this offense to Trey Ford, we know the potential of what he can do. I like what they're going to do over there offensively this year with him having a full off season and just knowing that he's the guy. I like their win total over 7.5. I don't love Calgary's at 6.5. I would probably go under. A lot of questions there, but that's where I lean.
Well, you know what? I'm always interested in Calgary right now, because clearly people aren't believing that bringing VA is enough. Like, not enough around him at this point, but I was a little startled at the numbers.
Yeah, a lot to prove, I would say, right?
I agree. I agree.
It's so tough. You practically have a whole new defense. 12 new guys expected to start on defense. None of them were there with the team last year, Kate. It's going to be difficult for that defense to get adjusted. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, again, something to play for, though, if I'm seeing those numbers. Maybe that's some bulletin board material. All right, let's recap the West standings from last season. Well, we finally see the Bombers relinquish top spot. Will Edmonton and Calgary prove the odd makers wrong? Only time will tell. For now, we shift over to the East, where all eyes are on the reigning Grey Cup champions.
Clean slate for the Toronto Argonauts.
Chad Kelly suspended for at minimum half of the regular season.
When you see the Argonauts clicking like this.
58 points scored, third most in the history of the CFL playoffs.
Chad Kelly, obviously a difficult guy to replace the reigning MOP.
They lost their quarterback, but they won the game. Argonauts are going to the Grey Cup for the second time in 3 years. Toronto is the Grey Cup champion.
So the Argonauts are the Grey Cup favorites and the favorites to win the East Division once again. However, there isn't much of a gap between any of the other 4 teams when it comes to these division winner odds, with the Tiger Cats sitting at plus 330 with the longest odds. The Owls and the Red Blacks with nearly identical odds to win the East, right behind Toronto. Once again, here's AK.
I believe that the Toronto Argonauts have as good a chance as anyone to repeat as Grey Cup champions in Winnipeg in November, but they are a clear bet on the under of 10.5 wins when it comes to their season-long total. 2023 CFL Most Outstanding Player Chad Kelly will not be ready to start the season. He is rehabbing from the broken leg he suffered in the East Final. And yes, Nick Arbuckle was tremendous for the Double Blue in the postseason, but I am skeptical he will be able to maintain that level of play over a prolonged stretch of time. Not to mention, the Argos have suffered some significant losses on both sides of the ball. Perhaps none more significant than Dejon Allen, the 2023 most outstanding O-lineman in the CFL, shipped to the BC Lions. Mackay Polk, who developed into one of the best receivers in the Canadian Football League, is not back either, leaving Toronto with Tavares Daniels. DeMonte Coxey, and a set of question marks at wideout. The attrition on defense is notable as well. Arimolade gone. Serezna gone. Hawley, Brinkman gone. From the D-line, Metier and Amos, two stout members of the team's secondary, have moved on as well. Argos personnel guru John Murphy is notorious for finding diamonds in the rough, and I expect Toronto to keep their heads above water heading into the playoffs. But with the East Division more competitive than ever and some big questions in very important positions, the safe money is fading the boatmen heading into the 2025 CFL season.
AK and I are completely on the same page today because I think the uncertainty in Toronto is quite high and just the changes on defense. And he mentioned it. I mean, the Argos do have a knack for finding these players, especially after they've lost tremendous players. But this one, particularly on the defensive side, it just seems significant, Ches.
Yeah, if you're on the same side as AK, you're probably on a good side. For those who don't know, follow AK. When you look at bets, prop bets, anything CFL related, AK is extremely sharp. He's also an Argo fan, so the fact that he's fading the Argos will probably tell you that's a pretty strong play. But my favorite bet in the East is I look at the Montreal Alouettes, and for some reason I think folks are underestimating this team. They bring almost everybody back, and for me, when I'm looking at season prop bets, the biggest thing I look at is your quarterback depth. One injury to your quarterback, and that's it for your prop bet for the season. The Montreal Alouettes have McLeod Bethel-Thompson as their backup quarterback, maybe the best backup quarterback in the league. So there's not a real drop-off there if he gets hurt. In fact, he might be the starter depending on what happens with Davis Alexander. I love the Alouettes over as my best play in the East.
I mean, it's just been 2 years that they won the Grey Cup. Right. And if you ask Danny Machocha, he has an upgrade at quarterback right now with Davis Alexander. So I totally agree with everything you're talking about in Montreal. Davis, I'm looking at Hamilton, and I like them over 8.5 games as well. You look at Bo Levi Mitchell, the way that he ended the season last year. I love the addition of Greg Bell and how he fits into that offense. I don't know if I want him to have a great year because there's a few questions when it comes to their defense, but if they can manage the game and throw the ball to a guy like Kenny Lawler, Tim White, and then hand the ball off as well to Greg Bell, they're going to be on a roll in the East this year.
And no love for the Red Blacks. I mean, we got Gino, we got William Stanback, we got Drew Brown now with the year under his belt. No love?
There's love.
There's definitely love. There's definitely love for the Red Blacks.
I have them coming out of the East.
Ooh, that's not. I don't think it's a bad bet at all. I think the Red Blacks are also going to have a great year with Drew Brown's second year as a starter. I think he's going to learn quite a bit. But you're looking at Toronto, you're looking at Hamilton, and you're looking at Montreal. Those two teams are going to be juggernauts in the East.
All right. You know what? By the way, I'm with you too. AK, not that I'm better by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes I read some of this stuff. I'm like, man, he was so accurate. So shout out to AK on this one. All right, let's take a look at the 2024 standings over in the East. Montreal top spot. Didn't matter though. It was the Argonauts who prevailed, Ottawa, and then Hamilton, who Henoc quite likes. So from teams to individual players, coming up, the panel weighs in on the QB market and who you should be eyeing as a potential MOP this season. Well, we are finally here. The start of the 2025 CFL season. It opens in Regina as the Rough Riders welcome the Red Blacks to town. And then we will be in Montreal and Regina, by the way. Friday night football. We have the Argonauts taking on the Alouettes. Finally, it's the doubleheader on Saturday. Snoop is in BC. I'm sad to say we will not be at that game. Now, speaking of BC, the Lions fans thrilled to have Nathan Rourke from the start this season. With more on him and the former Leo Vernon Adams Jr., here is Tekeyah Singh.
Vernon Adams Jr. was a midseason MOP favorite when we got the breaking news that Nathan Rourke would be headed back to BC last summer, nearly a year later, and both quarterbacks have a lot to prove after the trade that changed everything. The Lions were never going to be able to keep both quarterbacks on their roster, and when BC traded Adams to Calgary, it added another layer to both the team and the personal rivalries brewing in the CFL's West Division. The Lions and Stampeders won't meet until September. Calgary has the lowest regular season win total in the entire CFL at Fanduel, which means by the time that Week 16 showdown rolls around, the Stampeders could already be out of the playoff mix. Then there's the alternate timeline in which Adams delivers an MOP caliber performance that ensures Calgary is still in contention by the time that Rourke and the Lions visit McMahon Stadium. With Adams ready to prove he's still a star and BC banking on Rourke to return to his 2022 most outstanding Canadian form, there's a ton of pressure on the shoulders of both QBs in the CFL's West Division.
Bo Levi Mitchell's regular season passing yards prop was set at just over 4,500 yards at Fanduel. He is the favorite to lead the CFL in passing yards this season. Drew Brown is the second choice to lead the CFL in passing yards. Then it is the current Lions QB and the former Lions QB with Nathan Rourke and Vernon Adams Jr. Trevor Harris rounds out the top 5 choices. Look, it'd be a great story if VA went into Calgary, had a phenomenal season, and Nathan Rourke now starting with the Lions from day one. I mean, both would be amazing, but Jez, it is kind of hard not to look at Bo Levi Mitchell right now, what we saw in the second half of last season, and think he could absolutely win this title.
If Bo's healthy the whole year, he absolutely will lead the league in passing. There's no question. You look at just his weapons, the way Scott Mladenovich calls the game, and the fact that Bo throws as good of a deep ball as anyone. Those two receivers, having Tim White and Kenny Lawler along with Tim White, it gives them that extra receiver that they didn't have in Kenny. And that's going to shift everything they do offensively when it comes to coverage. If you have one guy, you can still double team that guy and still have enough numbers in other places on your defense to handle everybody. When you got to double team two guys, it completely changes the game. I love Bo. I don't love his number here. I wish he was down there at like 3 or 4. And it would be hammer time, and we'd take Fanduel to the cleaners. But
Bo is listening right now, by the way. He loves that number. He's going over.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you look at those two receivers, Chaz, who is the number 2, right? Tim White is a consistent number 1 guy, and he could be for any other team in the league. So having him there, even as a 1B behind Kenny Lawler, it is going to be absolutely electrifying.
You just answered who the number 1 was then.
I think Kenny is. I think Kenny is, but Tim is very capable of being a number 1 on any other team. And so Bo is going to have a great year. I like to look at a guy like Vernon Adams as well. He's a guy that has a chip on his shoulder. He's coming into a new team. He has a lot to prove, and he wants to do it quietly, but he wants to be loud with his stats. And this year is going to be something that he's going to do. He's reunited with a guy, Dominique Rhymes, who has a lot of chemistry with. It's going to be interesting to see over there. I have obviously lots of questions on defense, so they will get the ball quite a bit, David.
I can't wait to see these combinations.
Yeah, one thing you got to think about when you look at these yards, YABs, the yards after beatdown. When teams, and the thing like this, when teams are trailing, if you think a team's not going to be great this year, taking quarterback overs is actually a good thing.
No, I couldn't agree more. Oh, man, I'm so excited. I was just thinking, Bo and Kenny, like, what are the yards that Kenny's going to put up as well? Yeah. Reggie, along with Dominique Grimes. I mean, we've got all kinds of talent all over this league.
I could guard him, KB.
Stop it.
Chaz,
Stop
you
it.
can't guard him.
You want me to bring up the trampoline story?
No, it's not happening.
Stop it. Stop it.
Chad Kelly remains the favorite to win the CFL's Most Outstanding Player award at Fanduel. Nathan Rourke close second at 7-1 odds. Bo Levi Mitchell rounding out the list. Players with shorter than 10-1 odds to win MOP. Brady Oliveira, the top choice among non-quarterbacks at 12-1 odds. I personally think that Brady's getting a little shorted on this one, and honestly some of the receivers as well. And look, I know it's difficult to win. I know it's always a quarterback. Obviously, we saw Brady win it last year, but do you think he's a little bit slighted here, Henoc?
I would say slight. I mean, it's always tough to bet against Brady. His consistency over the years, his body of work, it doesn't seem like he's slowing down at all. So for him to be as high as he is, it's pretty normal, I would say.
Let me chime on that. No, I would never take a running back in an MOP odds.
Interesting.
At least to start the season because they get beat up so much. So for a running back to win the award, he's got to be healthy through the whole season, which is very difficult. Now, does that same thing apply to quarterbacks? Absolutely. But we know the quarterbacks are protected. They don't get hit as much. So that's why I would never take a running back. Obviously, Brady can win it, but I would never take a running back. Actually, if you guys want to have fun and bet you enjoy watching and sweating for the season, plug your ears. You won't like this one. But if you look at the running back odds up at Fanduel right now, I would look at, I think there's 5 running backs that are offered. I would take all 5 of those running backs and bet the under. I would be pretty certain that end of the year you'll be profitable because
you're going with injuries.
Out of those 5 guys, 3 of them aren't going to play a full season. They're never going over. So I think you're just at least, and I think you're profitable. That was not a very fun bet, but it's profitable.
You know what I really enjoyed last year, and obviously didn't end up happening, but we were looking at this and we're like, who is the MOP? And we thought it was either going to be Roland Milligan, or it was Tyrese Beverett. So we looked at the defensive side. But other than the running backs, do you have a receiver or a defensive player that you might go as a long shot on this one, Ches?
Defensive player is so tough.
It is so tough. I would just love to see it.
Yeah, maybe Matthew Betts. I would look at defensive linemen, pure pass rushers. Maybe Robbie Smith wanted to earn his contract, his new contract as a speed rusher, someone who could put up big sack numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for a defensive guy. That we talk about it. If there was going to be a defensive guy that was going to do it last year, it was going to be Roland Milligan, and Beverett was really close. I think they'll be close again this year. Again, Roland Milligan is going to be up there in a conversation at the very least. But again, it's going to be tough.
Now, what about our guy, Kenny Lawler? I mean, Kenny Lawler as a defensive back watching receivers, Kenny Lawler is the best receiver in this league. No disrespect to the rest of the guys. There's a ton of great receivers, but his explosiveness, his elasticity, he's a tough guy to handle with both throwing the deep ball. Yeah. I think Lawler could be a sneaky one.
And not that preseason means anything, but when we saw Bo go to Kenny on that very first play in that preseason game, right, that they want that.
Statement?
It's a statement.
Yeah,
it is a statement.
It absolutely is.
So, but you can guard him, right, Ches?
I was joking.
No, you weren't.
Chance.
No,
I couldn't guard you, Beirness.
All right. Don't go anywhere. We give our Grey Cup predictions right after this. You can't guard him. The defending Grey Cup champion Argonauts are once again the favorite to win it all this season at Fanduel, followed by the Bombers as a close second choice. No surprise, the Fanduel traders told us that Toronto and Winnipeg are the 2 most popular bets to win it all this season. Montreal, Saskatchewan, Ottawa round out the top 5 choices. And then finally, the Stampeders. I wonder if anyone has the Stampeders winning the Grey Cup. I'm going to say no, because obviously all the changes there to take a little time. But Henoc, who do you have in the Grey Cup and then winning the Grey Cup?
I have Saskatchewan coming out the west, Kate. Then I got Montreal in the east, and I got Saskatchewan taking it over Montreal in the Grey Cup this year.
We're similar in the west. I like Sask to come out of the west. I just think this is Sask's year. If Trevor's healthy, obviously, but that goes for a lot of teams. And then out of the east, Henoc?
Who you got?
The Hamilton Tiger Cats will come out of the east. The Hamilton Tiger Cats will win the Grey Cup over Sask. I got the Tiger Cats.
I don't know how I feel about Sask winning the Grey Cup in Winnipeg. Like, that's where I struggle. You know what? I'm going off on this one. I really am. I have the Ottawa Red Blacks coming out of the east, and I have the BC Lions coming out of the west. And I think it's because everyone's overlooking both those teams right now.
Fair.
They are.
That's fair.
Yeah,
fair
I like that. You're kind of selling me on the Tiger Cats, though. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, Nathan Roy.
Not enough to roll with me, but.
Absolutely. I roll with AK. I don't roll with Chezzy, but we shall see. Let the 2025 CFL season officially begin.